Welcome to Xiao Zhan Universe. Don't forget to subscribe, like and share this video with your friends. The first sign wasn't a cough or a fever. It was a glitch. WANG YIBO, immersed in a complex synaptic choreography, crafting a holographic nebula with a mere thought, felt a tremor. Not in the loom, but in his own vision. The brilliant stardust he was conjuring flickered, a jagged line of static cutting across his perfect cosmic canvas. He dismissed it, a momentary anomaly in the vast data stream of his brain. But it escalated. Subtle, then terrifying. Sounds became distorted, as if his internal loom was picking up frequencies no human ear should. The hum of his studio lights sometimes resolved into intricate, whispered equations. Objects in his periphery would occasionally shimmer, their molecular structures momentarily visible before snapping back to solid form. His hands, once instruments of flawless precision, would sometimes seize, a sudden, agonizing disconnect between intent and action. Doctors were baffled. His vitals were perfect. His brain scans showed nothing. Yet, YIBO knew. His body, his mind, his very connection to the digital world, was failing. The architect was breaking down. One terrifying morning, he was sketching a new chimera blueprint, a design infused with the soft, chaotic warmth he had found since his child's birth. As he worked, the digital lines on his tablet bled, colors fracturing into discordant pixels. He gasped, a sharp, searing pain shooting through his head. The entire studio, usually a bastion of controlled reality, began to distort. The walls shimmered, the floor undulated, and the synaptic loom at its center pulsed with an angry, dangerous red. He crumpled, clutching his head, his world dissolving into a maelstrom of raw, unfiltered data, a pure, painful scream of light and sound. News reached Xiao Zhan through the frantic whispers of their mutual circle. YIBO was hospitalized. Not with a physical ailment, but with something the doctors called a neurological event of unknown origin. Something that defied diagnosis, something that hinted at the very edges of YIBO's secret world. Without a second thought, Zhan dropped everything. His current film shoot, his scheduled concert, his entire meticulously planned life. All cancelled. His flight was a blur of anxiety, his mind consumed by a chilling premonition. He knew, with a certainty that bypassed logic, that this was connected to the chimera. To them. To the dangerous, beautiful fusion they had forged. He burst into YIBO's private hospital room. The man who could command galaxies with a thought lay pale and still, tethered by a dozen medical wires and tubes. The familiar precision of his features was blurred by a subtle tremor that ran through his body, an almost imperceptible vibration. The room felt cold, sterile, but Zhan, with his honed empathic projection, sensed a deeper chill, a profound psychic static emanating from YIBO, a distortion in the very air around him. He dismissed the doctors with a curt nod, his gaze fixed on YIBO. He reached out, his hand hovering over YIBO's forehead. He closed his eyes, focusing his power, letting his own emotional resonance become a bridge. He wasn't just sensing YIBO's fear, his physical discomfort. He was diving into the core of the problem, into the silent scream of his counterpart's collapsing system. What Xiao Zhan saw, what he felt, was a mind-blowing landscape of digital chaos. He was no longer in the hospital room. He was inside WANG YIBO'S mind, a vast, complex network of circuits and data streams, meticulously constructed, but now fracturing. Zhan saw beautiful, perfect algorithms tearing themselves apart. He saw logical gates overloading, sparking with violent red energy. He saw the very fabric of YIBO's consciousness, the place where synaptic choreography was born, twisting and breaking under an unseen pressure. He realized the source of the illness wasn't a virus or a physical defect. It was an internal war. YIBO's brain, his hyperlogical, technologically integrated mind, was struggling to reconcile with the profound, illogical influx of new emotion. The love for his child, that raw, unquantifiable surge of paternal affection, had destabilized his finely tuned system. His heart, once a purely biological pump, had become a conduit for overwhelming, unquantifiable data, the pure, messy force of love. His brain, accustomed to parsing logic and algorithms, was trying to process an emotional intensity that defied all previous programming. It was a digital overload, a system collapse born not of weakness, but of an immense, beautiful, and utterly mind-blowing expansion of his very being. The architect was overloaded by the bard's ultimate lesson, the boundless chaos of love. Zhan reached out, not physically, but within the digital landscape of Yibo's mind. He saw the core of the problem, a luminous, pulsing sphere of chaotic, unquantifiable light, the digital echo of Yibo's love for his child, slamming against the rigid, unyielding firewalls of his architect's mind. The system was rejecting the very force that had transformed him. Zhan knew what he had to do. He wasn't there to fight the love, he was there to teach the system how to embrace it. He began to project, not his own emotions, but a soothing, rhythmic pattern of acceptance, a calming balm of understanding. He used his empathic projection to become a translator, an emotional bridge. He didn't try to shut down the love. He projected gentle, flowing waves of empathy around the chaotic sphere, cushioning its impact, teaching Yibo's neural network to absorb, to integrate, to flow with the unquantifiable. He became the emotional current, guiding the raw power of love through Yibo's shattered logical pathways, showing them how to bend, not break. As Zhan poured his energy, his empathy, his very being into this silent, internal battle, the flickering chaos in Yibo's mind began to subside. The violent red sparks lessened, replaced by a softer, more harmonious glow. Zhan saw the precise, perfect algorithms of Yibo's mind begin to resequence, not by eliminating the chaos, but by learning to incorporate it, to flow around it, to find a new, beautiful, and more resilient balance. Hours later, Zhan opened his eyes. He was back in the hospital room, sweat beading on his forehead, his own body trembling with exhaustion. But the profound psychic static emanating from Yibo had lessened. The subtle tremor had eased. A doctor rushed in, alerted by a sudden, inexplicable surge in Yibo's vitals. They were stabilizing. Not just physically, but with a new, stronger rhythm. Yibo's eyelids fluttered. He looked at Zhan, his eyes slowly focusing. There was no immediate recognition, no grand pronouncement. Just a long, silent gaze. And then, a single perfect tear traced a path down Yibo's temple, not of pain, but of profound, unquantifiable relief. His fingers, still trembling slightly, reached out, not with the calculating precision of an architect, but with the raw, emotional need of a man who had faced his own limits and found his anchor in the human heart. Xiao Zhan simply took his hand, their bond, once broken and rebuilt, now solidified by a mind-blowing battle fought in the silent, invisible depths of a genius's mind. The architect was healing, balanced now by the unconditional love of his bard. The single tear that traced a path down WANG YIBO'S temple was a silent testament to a mind-blowing internal battle won. The tremor in his hands had subsided, replaced by a profound exhaustion. He was no longer a collapsing system, but a fragile one, slowly rebooting. The doctors, baffled by his rapid and inexplicable stabilization, could offer no explanation. They only saw a patient who had miraculously recovered from a mysterious neurological event. But in the quiet understanding between the two men, they knew the truth. The architect had been on the brink of digital collapse, and the bard's empathy had been his only cure. Xiao Zhan stayed by his side, a constant, reassuring presence. He didn't speak of the internal, mind-bending battle he had fought in the depths of Yibo's consciousness. He simply held his hand, a physical anchor to the real world, as Yibo's system slowly, cautiously came back online. A few days later, Yibo was released from the hospital, but he couldn't return to his old studio. The memory of the synaptic loom's violent, angry red glow and the terrifying distortion of reality was too fresh. He needed a place free from the digital noise that had nearly consumed him. Zhan, with his innate understanding of emotional sanctuaries, took him to a remote, mountainside retreat. It was a place of wild, untamed beauty, far from the city's ceaseless technological hum. The only sounds were the rush of a river, the whisper of wind through the trees, and the soft call of birds. This was Yibo's new healing space, a raw, natural world that was the polar opposite of the controlled, precise universe he had once inhabited. The healing process was a mind-blowing, slow re-education of Yibo's senses. He, who had once seen the world as a stream of data to be processed, now had to learn to simply feel it. The first step was the river. Zhan led him to its bank, the water a cascade of white foam over ancient stones. Yibo sat and watched, his synaptic choreography-trained mind still subconsciously trying to find a pattern, a logical algorithm in the chaotic flow. Zhan sat beside him, their hands intertwined. He closed his eyes and began to project, not a grand emotional storm, but a gentle, rhythmic flow of his own empathy. He didn't try to control Yibo's perception, he simply guided it. "Don't see the patterns, Yibo," Zhan whispered, his voice a soft, steady current of its own. "Feel the life, the energy, the story of the water." In that moment, Yibo's world shifted again. Through Zhan's empathy, he felt the river not as a cold, logical force, but as a living, breathing entity. He felt the ancient memory of the mountains it had carved, the joyous rush of the rain it had absorbed, the tireless, beautiful will to find a sea. It was a chaotic, beautiful, and utterly illogical story, a mind-blowing visualization of a force of nature that existed entirely without a blueprint. The cold, precise lines of his old reality began to melt, replaced by the warm, flowing, and unpredictable truth of the natural world. Days turned into weeks. Yibo, guided by Zhan, slowly relearned how to exist. He practiced his choreography not in a studio, but on a sun-drenched hill, the wind and the grass his only partners, letting his body move not with precision, but with a new, beautiful, organic fluidity. He would sketch, not on a tablet, but in a notebook with a charcoal stick, capturing the messy, imperfect beauty of a winding root or a crooked branch. The architect was learning to love imperfection. The final stage of his healing took them back to a private, minimalist studio. The synaptic loom was there, but it was dormant, its power core a soft, silent blue. It was time to face the machine that had almost destroyed him, but this time, with his new, balanced perspective. Their new work, their new chimera, was not a grand performance, but a silent duet of healing. Yibo stood before the loom, his heart steady, his hand held firmly in Zhan's. He began a simple sequence, a quiet, almost meditative synaptic choreography. A small, digital flame appeared in the center of the loom's projection space. He didn't try to control it. He let it flicker and dance unpredictably, its form a chaotic, beautiful masterpiece of light. This was his raw, untamed emotion, a visual representation of the illogical love that had almost broken him. Zhan, watching, understood. He took his hand away and activated his own resonance key. He didn't project a storm of emotion. He infused the digital flame with a steady, gentle, and nurturing emotional light. His empathy flowed, not as a chaotic force, but as a warm, comforting glow that surrounded the flame, embracing its chaos without attempting to contain it. The result was a mind-blowing, breathtaking image. The flame, once a wild, unpredictable entity, now pulsed with a new, vibrant life. Its flickering dance became a beautiful, harmonious flow, its light a rich tapestry of Yibo's cool, precise blues and Zhan's warm, comforting reds. It was not a creation born of logic alone, nor of untamed emotion. It was a living, breathing testament to their new balance, a perfect, yet imperfect, fusion of their two distinct worlds. This was their new chimera, a sanctuary, a masterpiece, a promise of a new future where logic and emotion did not clash, but worked in perfect, harmonious balance. The architect was healed, not just physically, but spiritually, his art finally made whole by the boundless empathy of his bard. Stay tuned to Zhan Universe for updates, exclusive breakdowns, and emotional reactions as the story unfolds. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because this miracle might just be real.